All right, so we will go ahead and get started. So today we're going to be talking about planning for your business for 2019. Specifically, everything having to do with your real estate business and your personal life as well. We'll cover a little bit of everything and how to successfully plan for the new year. So when we talk about planning, we talk about success. And what does that look like? Well, for everybody, success looks a little bit differently. And just because someone has one measure of success, that could be something completely different for somebody else. And the way I look at it, there's really 4 different types of ways that you can plan for 2019 and then how you can break down what your success looks like. So everything from personal accomplishments, family accomplishments, business accomplishments, and then financial accomplishments. Obviously, all 3 of these tie together. You know, you can't have certain success within your business life if you don't meet certain financial goals, and you can't do certain things in your personal life without family goals, and vice versa. So it's always good to tie all 4 of these things together. So that way you have a good idea of what success looks like. Today we're going to talk a lot about number 4, your financial accomplishments. Because to accomplish a lot of these things, to get success, you know, to run a marathon, to have grandkids, to be named the top sales rep, you know, a lot of that has to do with your financial impact, how much money you're bringing in, how much money you're spending. But it's a good idea when you're looking to create your plan for 2019, kind of have a breakdown of these 4 particular items. And so with that, we'll get started with the financial planning sheet, and we'll go back and forth between the slideshow and this financial planning sheet. And after the class, I'll send the link to everybody, so that way everybody has a chance to do it themselves and to kind of understand exactly what we're looking at. But we'll kind of break it down here, what that all means. So to really get a good understanding of what to do in 2019, you first have to know how to forecast. You know, what is a realistic goal for me to have? And that's why we have what are called SMART goals. You know, this is not something that I created, but this is something that I use quite a bit whenever I'm looking to plan and do something for the future. So SMART goals, S-M-A-R-T, stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive. And we'll break down each one of those items when we talk about each one of our specific goal sets. So when it's talking about, you know, financial planning, when we want to make $100,000, well, how does that apply to our SMART goals? Or if we say, hey, I want to run a marathon, well, how does that apply to my SMART goals? And we'll break down each one of those specific accomplishments based on these SMART goal planning aspects, and that's going to get us specifically where we want to be. So to do that, we first need to know our numbers. So going back to our financial planning worksheet, we can understand, okay, if this is how much money that I want to make take-home pay in 2019, these are the things that I need to do to get there. And to figure some of that out, we need to do some back-end math to understand, okay, how exactly did we get there? So to do that, we have to know our numbers. So for 2019, 2016 in Hillsborough County, we know there was approximately $12 billion worth of residential real estate sold. We know number of transactions, and we know the number of realtors. So we know that the average realtor sold about 6.5 properties with an average price point of $221. That led to a take-home pay of about $30,500. In 2017, it was a little bit more. Residential real estate was sold as far as value, and also the number of transactions. The number of realtors also increased. But that means the average number of properties sold per realtor went down. So in 2016, it was 6.5 properties. And in 2017, it was about 6.1, 6.2 properties. Now, the average price point from 2016 to 2017 went up. So even though the average realtor is selling fewer properties, the price of each home is going up, which actually brought home more take-home pay, even though they're selling on average fewer properties. Now, what that means for you, well, obviously, in real estate, especially with real estate sales, your income fluctuates based on, you know, how many properties you sell, but also the value of the properties. And so, knowing some of these numbers here, we can plug those into our financial planning worksheet. So let's say if the average take-home pay in 2017 for all realtors was $30,600, and that is for their take-home pay, which means that broker commission splits was taken out, referral fees were taken out, MLS fees, all those additional fees were already taken out, and it also includes an average commission rate of about 2.9%. So kind of understanding that, why our average commission rate is 2.1, that already includes all of our fees and our averages and things like that. So that means if we wanted to make, the average salary for a realtor, we would need to sell about $1.5 million in volume per year. Now, with the average price point being $236, which we found out from doing our research, understanding that that's the average price point in Tampa Bay, that means we need to sell about 7 homes per year to meet our take-home goal of $30,600. Now, when we talk about our SMART goals, we talk about our specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-sensitive goals. Now we have we're starting to get to some specifics. We're starting to get into some measurables. So when we say, okay, specifically, I want to make $30,600 next year, what do we need to do to get there? Well, I need to sell 7 homes in 2019 to get to that point. So now we have a very specific, we have a measurable, and we have a time-sensitive goal. And that by the end of 2019, I want to sell 7 properties by the end of the year. If we wanted to double that, let's say we wanted to make $60,000 selling the average number of homes, well, that means we need to double the production that we're going to do. So instead of going from 7 homes per year, we're now going to 13 homes per year. And let's say I really want to blow it out of the park and make $250,000 next year selling just average homes. Well, that means I need to sell about 51 average homes in Hillsborough County. Now, let's say I wanted to make the average realtor salary, but I wanted to sell just luxury homes. So that's about double the average price point for Hillsborough County. So instead of selling 7 homes per year, I could just sell 4 luxury homes per year and make the same take-home pay. So obviously with the spreadsheet, you can play with these 2 numbers here, how much money you want to take home and what's your average price point per home. And each individual realtor might have different price points as well. But for now, we'll just go with the average. So knowing that we have to sell 7 homes, we get something specific, we get something measurable, we get something time sensitive. The other 2 areas of the SMART goals that we need to measure, are they attainable and how relevant are they? So the attainable one is often the measure within a goal that's hardest to get. Anybody can say, I want to make $1 million next year. Or anybody can say that I want to run a marathon next year. But how attainable, how realistic is something like that? If you ran a marathon tomorrow, are you going to finish? Probably not. But if you spent a year training, if you spent a year figuring out, okay, on this particular date, I'm going to get to this point, then yeah, it could certainly become attainable. Same thing with selling homes. If I said I wanted to sell, 50 homes next year, well, sure, there are people out there that sell 50 homes per year, but how attainable, how realistic is that for you? And so that's kind of what the rest of the sheet is breaking down. So if I want to sell 7 homes per year, kind of just doing the average, what the average realtor does, that's about a half a home per year, or per month, excuse me, if I wanted to average it. And so then if we break it down, well, if I wanted to sell half a home per month, that means I need to write about 3 contracts per month, knowing that not every contract that I write is going to go through to completion. And so for me to get that half home per month, I need to write 3 contracts. But to even get to that point to write contracts, I need to show properties, or I need to do listing presentations. And to get to 3 contracts written per month, I need to have about 12 showings per month to get that done. Well, to even start showing properties, I need to talk to people that are interested in buying and selling real estate. And to get to that point, by law of numbers, in sales, I need to have 30 conversations per month with people that are seriously interested in buying and selling real estate. And when you break that down per business day, that is 2 conversations per business day with a serious buyer and seller that's interested in buying and selling real estate sometime in 2019. So now when we take a step back and we look and say, okay, I want to make $30,600 next year. I want to sell the average 7 homes per year. Well, instead of looking at those bigger picture goals, then we're going to break it down step by step by step to say, okay, what does that actually mean? What does that actually mean to attain 7 homes per year? Well, that means I have to write these many contracts. I have to show these many properties. I have to have these many conversations, per month and per day to get to that particular point. And so now what our day-to-day operations looks like, what our financial planning looks like, what our sessions look like, is now, instead of selling 7 homes per year, I need to have 2 conversations per day with someone that's seriously interested in buying and selling real estate. And conversations can mean different things to different people. You know, that could be a phone conversation, that could be an email conversation, that could be in-person lunch, that could be meeting someone at a happy hour. You know, you define what your conversations look like, but essentially you want to be able to have a serious, you know, discussion about buying and selling real estate. Because if we don't have a serious discussion, we can't make that lead to showings. And we don't have showings, we can't write contracts. We don't have contracts, we can't have closings. And so it all starts from having a conversation about real estate and then working that down the line. And just like an exercise program, just like running a marathon, you know, it's not something that you can expect to do tomorrow. But with a couple months of training, you can get there. Same thing with this. You know, you're not going to sell a home tomorrow. But if you start having 2 conversations per day with people, yeah, after 3 or 4 months, one of those people is bound to be, you know, buying and selling a home from you. And so again, it's just figuring out, okay, how do we get to that particular point? And then that's kind of where we go to calendar checking and time blocking. And so now if we know, okay, this is how much money I want to make. These are how many homes I need to sell. These are how many conversations I need to have in a particular day. Now we really need to use our calendar to time block and to get to that particular point. And so everything that we do, we should put in our calendar. 1, because it's going to help us, you know, understand both our business life and our personal life. But 2, it also helps us track our goals. So at the beginning of the week, we can say, okay, this particular week, my goal is to have 10 conversations with people serious about buying and selling real estate. Well, if I look at my calendar and I say, well, I only have 4 meetings scheduled this week, I know today on my to-do list, I have to schedule those 6 other meetings throughout the week. And then when you get to the end of the week, we can look back and say, okay, I needed to have 10 meetings this week. Did I have those 10 meetings? So now when we talk about our SMART goals, we can really specifically tell, hey, this week I needed to have 10 conversations with people serious about buying and selling real estate. At the end of the week, I can measure that. I can say, okay, you know, I only had 8 meetings. You know, this success rate this week was 80%. And so you can judge your week, well, am I happy with 80%? Or, you know what, my goal is to every week to get 10 out of 10. And so maybe next week, instead of doing 10, I need to do 12 meetings to make up for that 1 meeting that I lost. Or maybe next week I know I'm going to go out of town, so this week I'm going to get 14 meetings in, so next week I don't have to worry about scheduling all those meetings. You know, you have a little bit of flexibility with that and how you want to run it, what you're doing in your personal life and your business life. But if that's your goal, you need to set your calendar, you need to time block that opportunity to get those meetings in there, to be able to say, okay, this is what I want to do. These are the people I want to meet. These are when I want to meet these people. So from there, and we'll talk a little bit more specifically about that, but from there, we can start our SMART goal tracking. And so that way, what we can do, it kind of breaks down to say, okay, if our personal goal is to run a marathon, well, yeah, that's a good goal. But when we break that down step by step by step, you know, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-sensitive information, you know, we can get something, you know, much more specific than run a marathon. You know, run a marathon then becomes something like, I want to run in the 2019 10K Gasparilla Distance Classic on February 24th, 2019. You know, now I got very, very specific. I know when I'm going to be running it. I know which race I'm going to be running and where it is. You know, then attainable and relevant. You know, is this something attainable? Well, yeah, it's still about 3-4 months away. You know, what do I need to do to start training? Well, I'm going to develop a training regimen for 3 days a week between now and then. You know, day 1, I'm going to run 1/3 of a mile. And every training day beyond that, I'm going to add 1/3 of a mile till I get up to my goal that I want to get. And so then when I look at my calendar and I start time blocking these things, I know, okay, you know, every day from 7 a.m. to 8:30, that's going to be my training time. Or 3 days a week, that's going to be my training time. So in my calendar, I'm going to block off, you know, this is my time for training. And so that way I know this is in my calendar. At the beginning of the week, I know this is what I have to do. And at the end of the week, I can look back and say, yes, I specifically accomplished this goal. So now running a marathon becomes, I'm going to run in the Distance Classic and I'm going to train this particular way. But some of the most important parts of that is, you know, the relevancy of the goal. You know, or a better way to describe relevancy is, why am I doing this in the first place? You know, why do I even want to run a marathon? Well, maybe it's been a lifelong dream for me to run a marathon and I want to check something off my bucket list. Or you know what, maybe this is just a good way for me to get in shape, and so running a marathon is a good way to kill two birds with one stone. And so then we can kind of keep breaking it down. So then going to our family accomplishments, something as simple as, well, I want to have grandkids. Well, can I even have grandkids? How many grandkids do I want to have? Do any of my current children, are they even able to have, grandchildren? Why do I want grandchildren? And when you start breaking it down step by step by step, we see, okay, yes, I can have, 2 grandkids by the end of 2019 because 3 or 4 of my daughters or daughter-in-laws are currently pregnant or looking to become pregnant. And I want to be, a grandfather to as many kids as I possibly can. And so now something as simple as having grandkids now gets, broken down into step by step. How can we do something like that to get it done? Same thing from a business perspective, and then from a financial perspective, we can say, okay, what are the particular ways of getting this done? So if my goal is to make $100,000 next year, well, what does it mean to say my goal is $100,000? Is it all from yourself? Is it all from your real estate business? Is it household income? What does that look like? But we break it down and say, okay, well, I have to make this much money by this particular date. Is it realistic? Yeah, because it's only a 15% increase from my 2018 sales figures. That's accomplishable. If I said, I wanted to make, if I made $10,000 this year, but I want to make, $500,000 next year, well, that's probably not attainable and that's not realistic, because that's way too big of an increase. But if I said I made $50,000 last year and I want to make $57,000 this year, sure, that's much more attainable. That's much more realistic. We can do things to get us there. And then why do I want to make this much money? Well, is it to pay down personal expenses, pay off debt, to fund for retirement, to go on vacation? You can define what each one of those goals are. And so then really taking a look at, okay, what are my goals? Big picture goals, get appointed to a board, buy a new car, travel to Europe, things like that. It's great to have big picture goals. But then when we start breaking it down into our SMART goals, how likely is something like that to happen? And then if we plug those numbers into our financial planning spreadsheet, we say, well, I need to make, if I sell 7 homes per year, that's only going to cover my must-have expenses. And I'm not going to have any money to put towards a new car. I'm not going to have any money to put towards my vacation to Europe. So maybe instead of $30,000, I need to make $35,000 selling average homes. Well, that means I need to sell another home, which means I need to do additional work to get something like that done. And so that's kind of where we say, okay, how do our personal goals, our business goals, our financial goals all kind of tie together? And then with that, that's kind of the start of our planning process. We can take a couple big picture goals, we break them down step by step, apply the SMART goal strategy to them, and figure out where we need to go from there.